It's KFI AM 640, and you're listening to The Conway Show on demand on the iHeartRadio app. KFI AM 640, it is The Conway Show. Ding dong. I was just in the newsroom telling a story that I told on the air about... That's all I do. I walk around here. I got the 9 stories, and then I just change. My wife accused me of that. She says, you only have 9 stories. You just change your friends every couple of years and lay those new stories on them. I said, okay, all right. What did I do to you? You know, why are you banging on me? So I was in the newsroom, and I told him the story. When I was a kid, my dad had 6 kids, and so there's no way he could spend 6 hours on a Sunday with one of his kids, with me, going to a Rams game, and then he'd have to come home and he'd have to spend, time with all the kids. And he loved doing that, but he just couldn't afford the time every Sunday or every other Sunday. So his friend, who's an actor, would come by, pick me up, take me to the Coliseum. I would enjoy the football game with him, and they'd drop me off, and it was a great day. He had season seats. We'd go down there, we'd watch, almost every Sunday. Every Sunday the Rams were in town. He'd pick me up. We'd go to the Coliseum, 1 o'clock start. I'd be home by 5 o'clock. So I've told that story. And then a part of the story is one day we were at the game, and he had 19 beers, and he got pulled over by LAPD near the Coliseum. And a DUI back in the early 70s was just a ticket. And they told you to slow down, right? I think it's different nowadays. And I'm sure they recognized him because he was a big celebrity. So I told that story on the air probably for 25 years, maybe 2 or 3 times a year. And I never, ever revealed who the actor was because I didn't want to embarrass him or his family, even though he's passed away. And I told that story on the air one day, and Mark Thompson was here. And he said, he goes, I love that McLean Stevenson story. I said, Mark, oops. I said, I've never mentioned the guy's name. He's like, oh, Christ. Oh, well, what the hell. But I had never mentioned his name. And I told the guys in the newsroom that because I was telling another story about a friend of mine who it was a couple of days ago. And they said, I can't believe you told that story on the air. And I said, I didn't include the friend's name. And I'm not going to include that friend's name unless that friend outs himself. And then that he owns it. What the hell? But anyway, so the reason I told you that is because I was telling the guys that story in the newsroom, and they were laughing. I'd say about an 8 out of 10.
Maybe loud.
Maybe a 9 out of 10, right, Bellio?
I heard it all the way down the hallway.
Okay. And then I left the newsroom, and Bellio said, you haven't made me laugh that hard in a long time. And my response was, I used to.
You did.
It's like an old married couple.
Yeah. The first year. I laughed at everything. I haven't laughed that hard since.
I used to, Bellio. I used to.
That is true.
I used to get you good. And now it's,
I've heard them all.
That's right.
I'm like, repeat.
Right. That's true. You've heard them all. But you know what's amazing? I got a letter. Maybe I'll do it today. I got a letter from a woman in Orange County. And her dad, I think his name is Frank. Her dad, Frank, is not well. He has, stage 3 or 4 cancer. And they don't expect him to be around for Christmas. It was very sad email. And she said, between now and July or so we have plenty of time. She said, will you tell that? She goes, I know you want to wait till Thanksgiving maybe to tell the story. But my dad, she said, maybe I'll find the email. She said, my dad sleeps all day, wakes up at 3, has what he calls breakfast until 3:30, showers, gets back in bed, watches TV, shuts it off at 4 o'clock, listens to the radio from 4 to 7, then has a beer and goes to sleep. And she said he's been doing that for way before he had cancer. He's been doing it for a long time. It's just, he's retired, and that's his sort of life.
That's very cool.
And she said, will you please tell the Thanksgiving story with your mom, sometime in the next couple months? And I said, I promise I will. And I'll email you before I do it. And she said, that's her dad's favorite story of all time.
It's probably one of my top 5.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So I will do that. But it's funny how, and she said she's never heard that story and she's been listening for a long time. But it's amazing if you do tell a story on the air. I have told a story on the air about me going to the racetrack and with a buddy, and the buddy thought that, the racetrack, if you bet and you lose, you get your money back. I've told that story in the air for 30 years. And I still have very good friends who say they've never heard it, because they don't listen to the radio or I didn't tell them around them. But it's amazing, when you tell a story in the air, you think, okay, everybody, you heard that. But you'd be surprised how many people don't hear it and don't listen to it. And so the
audience is constantly changing in and out of their car or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. So if I do tell a story and you've heard it before, I apologize, but I'm probably doing it for somebody who is dying. So maybe you can give me a break.
Or maybe a new audience member.
That's right. Yeah, that's possible as well. That certainly is possible. All right, let's get into some news here. Disney has a brand new CEO. This is a big deal. Disney very rarely changes their CEO. Isn't it Bob Iger? Isn't that who it is? No, I think it's Bob Iger.
It was Bob. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it still is until March, I think, is when he finally, takes off his ears and moves on. But Disney is a hugely successful company, and anybody that can rise through the ranks. I think this guy started working for Disney in 1996. So he's been with Disney for 30 years? I think 30 years. And he has, kept his nose clean, has crawled up the ladder, and now he's going to be the CEO of Disney. And that's a major, major accomplishment. He ran Disneyland for a while, and then they sent him back to Disney World, and he ran Disney World. But he runs basically the parks, and the parks make a lot of money. Disneyland, it costs Disneyland $5.7 million a day to keep Disneyland open. $5.5 million a day is what it costs that company to keep the park open, because they got to pay employees, electricity, insurance. There's so many expenses that come along with the park, fixing the rides, designing new rides, all that stuff. And they bring in $20 million a day. So they're making $15 million a day with Disneyland. And the governor made Disneyland close during the pandemic. The one Disney World opened 116 days later, which, they were closed for 3 months. But Disneyland was closed for more than a year. I think it's 410 or 412 days. I don't remember what the number was. But they were closed 100 or 96 more days than Disney World. And, quick calculation here. Let's see what that cost Disneyland. When you're closed for, all right, let's say they make $15 million a day and multiply that by 96. So that costs Disneyland $1.4 billion, which is a lot of money, a ton of money. And this guy was able to negotiate and navigate all the hurdles, all the ups and downs, and he becomes CEO of Disney. This is a huge, huge job. It's probably the premier job, maybe in the world, but certainly in Hollywood. It's the premier job, the best job in Hollywood, I think, by far.
A major leadership announcement about the Walt Disney Company. Josh D'Amaro will be the new chief executive officer of Disney, a 28-year Disney veteran and current chairman of Disney Experiences, succeeding Bob Iger after nearly 2 decades at the helm.
Wow.
Board chairman James Gorman praised D'Amaro's, quote, rare combination of inspiring leadership and innovation, adding that his strategic vision and passion for the Disney brand make him the right person to lead Disney's next chapter. Iger echoed that confidence, calling D'Amaro, quote, an exceptional leader with an instinctive appreciation of the Disney brand and a deep understanding of what resonates with audiences.
This is a big deal. When you drive home and you tell your wife and your kids you are the main guy for Disney, there's nobody above you, that is a big deal.
and saying his ability to combine creativity with operational excellence is exemplary. Iger will remain a senior advisor and board member through 2026 to help guide the transition. Dana Walden will become Disney's first ever president and chief creative officer. DeMauro, who has led Disney's Parks and Experiences division, said he's, quote, immensely grateful for the opportunity, adding there is no limit to what Disney can achieve. This is a special and exciting day for the company. Iger and DeMauro will sit down with David Muir later today on World News Tonight for an exclusive interview. Congratulations, Josh and Dana, and a big thank you to Bob Iger from all of us here at ABC 7. Reporting from Burbank, Irene Cruz, ABC 7.
All right.
That sounded like such...
Like what?
That sounded like an employee of the company is what that did.
Well, she is.
I know, just the way she was so over. A big congratulations.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, I don't get down on her for that, man. That's how you rise in that company.
That's hilarious.
You got to mind, you can't be a bitter, just do you 9 to 5 and complain about doing additional work. That's how you get up and through that company. Yeah. You work your ass off.
Tim, I still find you very funny. You crack me up, all your stories.
Thank you. Great timing. We'll talk about that during the break.
You're listening to Tim Conway Jr. On Demand from KFI AM 640.
Monks is here.
Yo.
Moneybags. How you, bub?
I'm well. How's it going, man?
I'm doing excellent.
Thanks for sharing that story about your youth driving in the back of a drunken actor's car on the way to the Rams game. What a delight.
Well, there's more to that story. So I told that story, and you guys were awfully nice to give me the courtity laugh.
It was genuinely funny.
Okay, then I'll take that. And then as I left, Bellio said, he goes, oh, they really liked that story. And I said, yeah. And she said, you don't make me laugh like that anymore.
Yeah.
And I said, I used to.
Like an old George Jones, Tammy Wynette song.
That's right.
Yeah.
No. But I used to make Bellio laugh, and we're just an old married couple now.
Bellio also visited the newsroom today, and we chatted a bit, and we asked each other, when is the last time you think Tim Conway Jr. ate a vegetable?
Okay.
That is a true story.
I will tell you, it was... was it last night? Let me see what I had for dinner last night. It was, do you consider pepperoni a vegetable?
Yes.
Yes, I had last night.
Okay.
No, it was, I'd had chicken wings and pepperoni pizza last night. I eat like a 20-year-old who's not going to see 30.
Yeah, that's what we were saying. Is like, this guy is always starting stories with, well, I was in the Jack in the Box drive-thru.
Okay, I ate a California Pizza Kitchen chopped salad on Saturday.
And what else? You didn't go there just for the salad.
No, I went there because I have 4 friends that we went and I've known these guys since like 3rd grade.
That's fair. We're just worried about Giselle.
Okay. I do eat vegetables, though. I do like, I get red peppers from Walmart. I cut them up, put salt on them, and down them. I really enjoy them.
Really? By themselves?
By themselves, cold.
Wow.
Yeah, cold red peppers.
Good for you.
And I'm trying to think of what I had on Sunday, but I bet I ate vegetables on Sunday as well. Oh, I had a cucumber. I slice up a cucumber, I put salt and pepper on it, and I eat it raw.
Cucumber.
Well,
yeah.
At this rate, you might have a bowel movement by Saturday.
How do you say cucumber? Maybe, I don't know. But I did see the big Charmin roll. They've got a new rollout with I think it's 550 feet of toilet paper.
Oh
have you seen it?
No.
Okay, it's on our social media. Bellio, where is that on
At
social media?
Conway Show, it's on Instagram and TikTok.
Okay.
And X.
And X, okay. But I'm going to show you, Mr. Monks here, because I want you to see how large the roll of the new Charmin roll will. You don't have to change it, but once every 3 or 4 months. It's literally like 3 football fields full of toilet paper. I'll find it. While we talk about
who's pooping that much?
I don't know. Certainly not me.
No.
I don't know. But somebody, I think. What Charmin realized is the biggest hassle people have in the bathroom is changing out the toilet paper. Here it is.
Oh, look at that. That's a picture of you holding it.
Yes. In Target. We didn't buy it.
It's not a bad ad because you look a little constipated.
But I will say that it's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's 1,000, it's 550 feet of toilet paper.
That's for like a juvenile hall.
Yes. But I noticed that that you have to buy a new hanger for it or holder for it because the one you have is not that big, and it's not heavy enough, so it's going to tip over. Yeah.
Well, look, quickly, the city council in Los Angeles is upset with the LAPD chief, Jim McDonnell,
What
over
did he do
comments
now?
he made last week. So let me just set the stage for you. Today, the LAPD is before the city council saying, look, we know times are tough, but you know us, we love coming to ask for more positions. And this time they were asking for one specific position. And this is a guy or gal who would handle communications inside the department, basically the communications that go internally primarily, at a salary of $191,000.
Whoa.
It's not a bad gig at all.
Wow.
And some of the council members had raised some questions like, look, we're laying people off or people are facing the threat of layoffs, even still. And here you are coming yet again with a position that we don't necessarily have funding for. But there was another question raised by multiple members of the city council who said, last Friday, when Jim McDonnell was rolling out the crime data, which was very positive for the department and the city, low murder rates and all that.
The chief
was asked about the state ban on federal agents wearing masks.
Okay.
And whether
he was going to
enforce it. He said no.
Yeah.
He says it's bad public policy. It creates a weird tension between two departments that have guns.
Right.
And it's kind of a weird situation. He says it's bad public policy and we wouldn't enforce it. He says at best it's a misdemeanor offense. We're not going to worry about that. And the city council members said this is unacceptable. In fact, here is what LA City Council President Marquise Harris Dawson said.
But I want to join my colleagues in communicating how disturbing it was to hear that specific message, that something like, well, it isn't a smart law and I don't like it, so we're not doing it. That just was way beyond the pale. And I haven't talked to the chief directly. I'll have that conversation with him. But I want to join the council members from this desk and telling you that was just wholly unacceptable. The other thing I'll point out to members is I had occasion to listen to 911 calls, and people are calling and saying, I have a van with covered license plates rolling up to my business. I don't know whether to let them in or not. I don't know if they're ICE or not. And the person on the phone saying, well, the police, we're not going to send the police to help you. Like, it's absolutely heartbreaking. So, and infuriating, frankly, that we set up a police department, we give a number for people to call for help, and then they call for help, and they're basically told, call somewhere else because we're not going to help you. So I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I know this.
And that is kind of the sentiment that the council members were sharing was, look, we're all 10 toes down on the situation involving immigration agents in this city. And we're saying, ICE out of LA, ICE out of LA.
Right.
But the police department does not seem to share that value.
Okay.
So they voted, 5 of them voted against this hire, which had nothing to do with the chief's comments.
And did this hire go through?
Yes, 10-5. In fact, the council president who you just heard also voted for this position. He separated his feelings about the position and the recent comments by Chief McDonnell.
Okay, but real quickly, Chief McDonnell, I think is right. He doesn't want to create a weird relationship between the federal officers and the state and the city officers.
It's an awkward position for the police department to be in because they do not do immigration enforcement. They make that clear that they have to keep a good relationship with illegal immigrants because there are other crimes that they need to have sources help them solve. But they are also the ones who are out there during these protests, keeping the crowds at bay as best they can.
Sure.
There's various levels of success. And they have to have relationships with these federal agencies on a multitude of other issues outside of immigration.
That's right. All right. Well, there's going to be more to this. Obviously.
Yeah.
This is not where it's going to end.
No.
Yeah. All right, Monks, thank you. 8 to 10
on Saturday night.
Yeah, look at that. You got Monks Saturday night, 8 to 10. All right, nice to see you, bub.
You're listening to Tim Conway Jr. On Demand from KFI AM 640.
Jill Biden? Remember Joe Biden, the president of the United States? It was president after Trump and before Trump. Yeah. He's sort of bookend the Trump era. So President Joe Biden is married to a woman named Jill Biden. And Jill Biden was married to a man before Joe Biden. I didn't know that. I thought they were, they met when they were young and they fell in love and married. And maybe she married for the first time. And I have this whole fantasy that, he was a little older, accomplished, politician and she was a nurse or a teacher, whatever the hell she did. And they fell in love and became married. I didn't know she was married before. And her ex-husband is now in a boatload of trouble. I don't think you can be in any more trouble than this guy's in.
The ex-husband of former First Lady Jill Biden has been arrested for allegedly murdering his wife.
He killed, allegedly, his wife. He killed Jill Biden's ex-husband is being accused of killing his wife. And it happened back in December, but the word is just getting out there.
Investigators believe William Stevenson killed his wife Linda after a call to police about a domestic dispute in December. Officers responding to the call found her on the living room floor where she was pronounced dead at the scene.
And he wasn't arrested immediately for that. I wonder why.
NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grumbach joins us now. Gary, Stevenson was taken into custody just yesterday. He is now in jail.
Okay. For people who go to the racetrack, this is going to seem confusing.
Gary Stevenson was...
Okay. She's saying Gary... And then, comma, Stevenson was arrested, not Gary Stevenson. Gary Stevenson is a well-known jockey at Santa Clarita, retired, and now he's an analyst for, I think, NBC Sports. But she's not saying Gary Stevens was arrested for killing his wife. She's saying Gary Stevens was arrested.
Gary Stevenson was taken into custody.
Stevenson. It's not even the same name.
Gary Stevenson was taken into custody just yesterday. He is now in jail after failing to post the $500,000 cash bail. What else are we learning? Why did it take authorities so long to make this arrest?
Great question. The question I had, why when you show up at a domestic dispute, the woman's dead in the living room and you don't immediately arrest the guy? How did this happen?
That's one of the big questions we don't actually really have answered yet. Linda Stevenson was found dead on December 28th, and just yesterday, William Stevenson, her husband, was indicted by a New Castle County grand jury on first-degree murder.
Okay, what does that tell you? That she was killed on December 28th. Tons of anger and hostility and craziness in that house. Because the couple weeks leading up to Christmas... And then the week between Christmas and New Year's is always casual around the house. You have family in, you have friends in, you just did Christmas, you're cleaning up, you're in the Christmas mood. I think Coast is still playing Christmas music on Coast 103.5, and it's casual. It's not crazy week. But there is so much anger in this lad that he killed her, allegedly, between Christmas and New Year's.
Now, the way indictments work in local criminal court in Delaware, it's a one-page indictment. All it says is that he has been indicted of that charge. There's no further detail on exactly how the grand jury came to that conclusion. As you say, he does remain behind bars because he was unable to pay a $500,000 bail to get out.
Gary, what more can you tell us about Stevenson's relationship with the former president and first lady? How long were they married? When did they divorce?
Great question. Is she still in contact with this guy, her ex-husband, who is accused of killing his current wife?
Yeah, so Jill Tracy at the time was married to Bill Stevenson for 5 years. They got married in February of 1970.
I wonder why they divorced. You think he has anger issues? I don't know.
And divorced officially in 1975. And it was during that time where Jill Biden was a student at the University of Delaware. William Stevenson was the owner of this place called the Stone Balloon Club, which is one of the biggest, at the time, one of the biggest music clubs in the country near a college campus. The likes of Bruce Springsteen, the Allman Brothers, Dave Matthews Band all performed there.
Yeah, I guess that was the biggest bar in town. And I don't think money was an issue, although he doesn't have the $500,000 to get out of jail. So maybe it was, maybe all the, the bars slowed down. The drinks weren't as, the alcohol wasn't flowing like it was, and people found a new place to go. And maybe that led to his, his wild anger. I don't know.
Jill Biden, when they got divorced, did try to maintain her half share in that ballroom, but was denied. It's unclear what their relationship has been in the past 45 years or so since they got divorced.
Wow, what a story that is. That's wild. The ex-husband of the first lady. allegedly wipes out his wife and kills her. Oh, man. Yeah, he's had that whole family. That is a wild, wild story. Crazy. All right, I'm sure there'll be more details coming out. We are live on KFI AM 64. When we come back, we got a happy, great story for you about these young girls who are playing hockey out of Santa Clarita. I think they call them the Flyers. And they went to Colorado to play in this big tournament, this big hockey tournament. And there was an accident on the way, and one of the fathers died. Well, there's a silver lining, and there's at least one great story coming out of that, and we'll have that for you next.
You're listening to Tim Conway Jr. on demand from KFI AM 640.
You may remember the story that we did, I think it was on Friday. Maybe it was Thursday. I think it was Friday, though, where there's a horrible accident. These Lady Flyers, they're calling them. It's the 12 and under ice hockey team. I think they play at the Cube out in Valencia or Santa Clarita. I can never get that straight. I don't know where Santa Clarita starts. Is Santa Clarita in Valencia? Is Valencia in Santa Clarita? I don't know. And people have told me in the past, and I just forgot. So the Lady Flyers, they get on vans, and it's a great trip. For kids to get in a van and travel with other kids to another state to play is the most bonding thing you can do as a young person. And they look forward to the trip more than they do the game. When my daughter was cheering for Burroughs High School, they had an event in Las Vegas. And I told her, I said, the bus ride there and back is going to be the most fun of the trip. And she was like, what? I said, yeah, trust me. You're going to have, they all went on one bus, a huge bus. And, or I think it was two buses. And that's where you sit next to your best friend or, 4 or 5 of your best friends on a bus and laugh and tell stories. And it's great. However, when these girls went to Colorado, there was a horrible accident. A snowplow crossed over into their lanes they're going eastbound. Snowplow was going westbound, lost control, hit their van, and one of the fathers died. And one of the girls had to be airlifted to a hospital. And there was, I think, 5 or 6 girls in that van, that Sprinter van, and some of them got hurt. And so they asked the girls, do you want to play the game, knowing that one of the fathers had passed away and one of the girls was injured? And they said, yes, we want to play for them. And they did. And you got to, and those kids were raised by beautiful parents to say yes. They didn't quit. And they did very well in this tournament.
And after a week of grief, a California girls hockey team is back home with a trophy.
It goes to a Flyers player. Misery blocks it and goes in.
The Santa Clarita Lady Flyers winning the Colorado tournament they were playing in. That victory coming just days after the father of one of the players was killed after a snowplow crashed into the team van. Eyewitness News reporter Liz Nagy is live in Santa Clarita as the team has just returned home. Liz.
Giovanna, it's hard not to smile when you see that clip of the girls winning that championship moment, the moment that all happened. The Santa Clarita Lady Flyers are back here at their home rink tonight being celebrated as champions, but they're also recovering after several very emotional days. And this memorial outside the rink was waiting for them, celebrating their big accomplishment, but also recognizing the pain of several families that were involved in that deadly crash in Colorado on the way to the tournament. Now, the team's coach says just about a half hour shy of their destination on Thursday, one of the team vans was crashed into by a snowplow that crossed over the road. It killed the driver in that van, Manny Lorenzana, who was the father of one of the girls. Several of the mothers of team players were also in the van at the time. They were then sent to the hospital. The girls then decided not only were they going to continue on with this tournament and play for their players who were involved in all of this, but they went on to win 6 games and walked away as Western girls hockey champions.
Wow. What a great story. This is like a movie of the week. If they still do movie of the weeks. I don't know if they still do that. But this is a great, maybe a Hallmark story. But this is a fantastic idea for a movie. And I love it's sad that Manny passed away, and I'm sure that he did something at the end trying to protect these kids. Turn the van where the snowplow hit his side first.
Absolutely.
I'm 100% positive.
Yeah.
This guy went out a hero. But this is great. They won the tournament. They won all 6 games.
But they went on to win 6 games and walked away as Western girls hockey champions.
I don't think it's ever happened for that area. I don't remember ever hearing that the Lady Flyers or Valencia or Santa Clarita won some kind of hockey trophy. I've never heard that. And that would have been big, it would have been news. Never heard it before. It might be the first time that's ever happened.
It was quite a moment. Well, we talked to the team's captain about a 2.5-hour conversation between these girls between the ages of 10 and 13 years old about whether they were going to proceed with this tournament. And then the head coach said there was one very special moment that happened in one of those games.
We all got around in a circle and we all kind of just talked about if we should play or not. And our decision was that we should play because not for ourselves, but for Manny, who was the father, and for our girls.
We had a short bench, and on the 4th game, the young girl's father that passed away actually showed up on the bench, game 4, scored about 40 seconds into the game.
Wow.
As the girls were cheering, she was walking onto my bench with a helmet on, and all the girls hopped over, was giving her hugs because that was the first time we saw her. And I think that just gave all the girls that inspiration to continue on.
Now, you could sort of see the emotional exhaustion in these girls as they showed up here to the rink today, but they are very proud of themselves, as they should be. Right now, there are 2 different online fundraisers that have been set up to help all of the families involved in this deadly crash, and collectively, they have raised more than $120,000 to help some of the families.
Oh, that's great.
There is one mother of the team, we're told, who is still in the hospital in Colorado tonight. Some of those funds will be used to help the family return and in their recovery process. We're live in Valencia tonight. Liz Nagy, ABC 7 Eyewitness.
What a great local story after the disaster. I mean, horrible, situation where one of the fathers had passed away. But for those kids to vote to play and then go on to win the tournament is something that that you would read about in a novel. You'd read about it in a book, or a screenplay would be written about it. But this is real life, and I think that they should turn that into a movie. If somebody in one of you Hollywood types are listening, that is a great idea for a movie. And let the kids play themselves. Right? They're probably 10, 11, 12 years old. But I think that is it's a story. Those kids are going to remember that the rest of their lives. We'll also put the GoFundMe, we'll put it up on social media to help that family out. But what a story. All right, we're live on KFI AM 640.
Conway Show on demand on the iHeartRadio app. Now, you can always hear us live on KFI AM 640, 4 to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and anytime on demand on the iHeartRadio app.